Dear countrymen, Assalamu alaikum. I am speaking to you tonight under the threat of war in Kashmir, which is being forced on us by India. The exchange of desultory fire, which had been going on for months across the ceasefire line in Jammu and Kashmir, has now assumed a grimmer aspect. In certain sectors, the armies of two countries have clashed. Failing to suppress the freedom fighters in the occupied territory of Jammu and Kashmir, India has embarked on a course of aggression across the ceasefire line. Indian artillery firing across the border on August 23rd hurled several shells into village Awan of Gujarat district, destroying houses and killing 20 innocent people and injuring another 15. The world might well ask why the Indians are so anxious to precipitate this war. The answer is simple. The Indian rulers find that their adventure in imperialism, which started with the subjugation of Junagadh and Hyderabad and later brought Goa under their occupation, is in serious jeopardy in Kashmir. The people of Jammu and Kashmir, who had been living under Indian colonial oppression, have risen in open revolt. India blames us for supporting these valiant fighters against Indian tyranny. We are doing no more than what we have always pledged to do, which is to support the people of Kashmir in exercising their right of self-determination as pledged to them by the United Nations, Pakistan as well as India. India has dishonored her pledge. Pakistan shall honor it. Even personal undertakings lose their sanctity with Indian leadership if expediency so demands. In a recent statement to a foreign correspondent, the Prime Minister of India claimed that during his meeting with me in Karachi on 12th of October 1964, he had told me that India was not going to change its position on Kashmir, and that if I wanted to improve relations between the two countries, we ought to tackle other problems one by one. To put the record straight, I would like Mr. Shastri to recall that when I told him that the biggest obstacle in the Indo-Pakistan relation was the question of Kashmir, he readily conceded that the issue needed to be resolved, but that he did not think himself strong enough to carry it through with his people at that moment. I told him that as Prime Minister of India, it was his duty to build public opinion in favor of a satisfactory solution. He might be criticized for it by some elements, but the bulk of the Indian people would thank him for relieving them of a great anxiety. While agreeing with me, he pleaded for time. But instead of using time to build up public opinion, he allowed himself to be forced into making an ill-conceived attempt to integrate Kashmir with India through some constitutional device which has neither any moral validity nor any legal force in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. The patience and restraints which we have imposed on ourselves in the interest of peace in this area has been misunderstood by India. The sense of discipline shown by our people springs from their faith and ability to defend their country. In the supreme hour of their trial, the people of Pakistan will rise like one man and give a befitting reply to Indian aggression. Fellow countrymen, we are faced today with two challenges, one no less grave than the other. The first challenge is posed by India's hostility, which has been mounting ever since she started receiving massive arms aid from some of our friends and allies. We had warned our friends time and time again that this aid would not be used against China, but against Pakistan. This has come to pass. The second is the challenge of our self-reliance. We can turn both these challenges into an opportunity to release the creative energies of our people, bringing out qualities of resourcefulness and dedication. It is in times like these that nations fulfill their destinies. They survive by the strength of their faith and character. May God grant us the courage to face this trial with unity and determination. Ameen. Pakistan, Payandabad.
And now your newsreel brings you pictures of village Awan Sharif in Gujarat district in West Pakistan. Badly mauled by freedom fighters and patriots in Kashmir, the Indians train heavy artillery units from the Chamb area of occupied Kashmir and shell Awan Sharif in Gujarat. The dead number 20. 15 persons are seriously injured and houses and property destroyed. This brutal attack on innocent civilians shows India's utter disregard for the sanctity of human life or international pledges. In hospitals, we see the poor innocent, many of them women and children, being treated for serious injuries. These are the victims of India's merciless stranglehold on Kashmir and defiance of international obligations to keep an innocent people in perpetual servitude. Those who can gather their belongings and quickly move to areas of safety. And the same story is repeated in occupied Kashmir. Brutal terrorization, mass murder, arson and loot fail to intimidate the freedom fighters. Non-combatants leave their homes and trek their weary way from the Poonch and Uri sectors of Indian occupied territory seeking refuge in Azad Kashmir. They tell harrowing tales of Indian forces burning their villages, looting their belongings and killing their young men in a virtual scorched earth policy. Their only crime is that they are Muslims, and for it they pay dearly at every step. Pakistan gives shelter to these refugees from Kashmir, more than 5,000 of whom the Indians have hounded out of their ancestral homes. These pictures tell their own story of the grim tragedy that is being enacted in occupied Kashmir by the brutal and merciless armed forces of India. Meanwhile, as Indian forces violate the ceasefire line over and over again, the valiant freedom fighters retaliate and penetrate several miles into occupied territory. They are backed by the Pakistan Army, which crosses the ceasefire line as a purely defensive action and captures Deva and Chand, two Indian posts. They consolidate their positions and continue their advance, inflicting heavy casualties on Indian troops. On the front, the battle goes on as freedom fighters and Pakistan troops repel attacks by numerically superior Indian forces. The Mujahids are alert and their morale is high. They are determined to defend Pakistan and liberate Kashmir. Though India introduces aerial warfare for the first time in this conflict, the advance continues and Pakistan troops capture large quantities of equipment. American tanks and trucks are proof that military aid given to India to defend herself against a hypothetical danger from China is used to keep Kashmir in bondage and threaten Pakistan. The area is littered with weapons and equipment left by the Indians when they fled. Small arms, ammunition and rifles are captured at a number of places where the Indians had set up concrete defenses. Hundreds of Indian prisoners of war are taken, showing the valor and determination of our troops. Indian aggression will be met by force, and the right of 5 million...